Hi, this is Tim from Time to Sew, and today we're doing some work with distressed ink. This is what we're going to be using. They're the Tim Holtz product from Ranger, and they come in numerous colours. I can't help thinking they spend as long trying to come up with the names as they do producing the ink. This is Chipped Sapphire, Frayed Burlap, Mustard Seed, Dried Marigold, there's Warm Lipstick, Victorian Velvet, all sorts of colours. Unlike most inks, as you can see from the lid, the idea is that it doesn't dry to a smooth, even colour. It dries giving a mottled effect and therefore looks aged. You can apply it with foam from the pad, with brushes. It's water soluble, so once the ink is down you can then play with it, and we'll be doing bits where we're spraying it with a spritzer. First off though, I'm just going to stamp an image. So this is the stamp I'm going to use. It's a pen and ink drawing of a little puppy. I'm going to use the Black Soot ink pad. So I'm just going to ink my stamp as I would do normally, holding the stamp rubber side up. I'm just going to apply the ink across the back of the stamp. I'm then going to stamp straight onto the card like so. And there we go. Nice image there. But what I'm going to do next is just with a normal paintbrush and a bit of water, I'm just going to dissolve some of the ink and use it to colour my image. The advantage of doing this is that you're using the same colour all the time. Not so critical with a black or a grey as I've got here, but obviously when you're using some of the other colours, if you start introducing paint or another colour of ink, it's very difficult to match the colour exactly, or match the shade I should say. There we go. There we go. So there's the image coloured. Now where you want a more intense colour, you can just use the ink pad as a palette. So I'm just dipping a moistened brush onto the ink pad to give a little bit of shadow. I've probably overdone it a bit there, so I'm just going to work that out with a bit of water. There we go. A little bit down here on his leg. The nice thing with this particular stamp, being a sketch illustration, is that the shading within the stamp gives you an idea of where to put the most colour. So, now I'm just going to use the tip of the brush to give a real punch of black detail to his eyes and nose. There we go. Okay, on to the next one. Okay, this time I'm going to use a stencil brush to apply the ink to the card. As you can see, I'm just tapping the brush against the pad to load up the ink, and then with little circular motions applying the ink to the card, starting from the outside, working inwards. As this is pretty repetitive, I'm going to speed the film up. Just to say, I'm going to use a 2p piece as a mask. I'm not putting it on straight away because I want there to be like sort of a pale blue below the mask rather than completely white. And I'm going to use several different shades of blue as I'm working. There we go, back to normal speed. That's given me my background, and now I'm inking the stamp again with the distressed ink. There we go, and I'm just going to add my tree image to the card. There we go. Here it is again in more muted colours. And here we go again, another card. This time using quite a variety of colours and blending as we go. Nice thing with using this technique of using brushes and distressed ink is that you don't get a defined line between different colours, but they just merge nicely one to another. So there we go, there's my background. I'm going to slow everything up now because I'm going to spray water on it with a little spritzer. It's just like an atomizer, and I'm going to spray that across the card, and you'll see when we zoom in later that each little drop of water slightly dissolves the ink and gives a nice sort of blotchy effect. So now that's had a few moments to dry, I'm just inking my stamp up. This time I'm using a dye ink to give a more solid colour as a contrast between the distressed ink. So I'm using Memento dye ink and just stamping the tree onto the card. There we go. And now as we zoom in with a stills photo, you can see those little, each drip of water, the way it's dissolved the ink. And an extra one. Now I'm using really nice warm colours and creating a sort of vignette around the card. Once I've created the frame, I'm going to stamp my image into the frame, inking the stamp with the distressed ink. And finally, just before the gallery, as I've got all these inks out on the table, just one with loads of colour. See what you make of this. Well, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. There follows a little gallery of some different cards. As always, all of the inks and equipment that I've used are available on our website. That's www.timetosew, where there's also contact details if there's anything you want to query. Thank you very much indeed, and we'll do another video soon.